Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight, in the morning, the afternoon, wherever you at this time of the day. We want to thank you guys for being here, and we appreciate you being here. One of the things that we like to do is to talk to interesting people doing interesting things. That guy. Yes, it's him. That guy over there. He has done something interesting. And what is it that you think he has done? He has started his own production company. Yeah, that guy.
I did. That's
A
me.
production company, with speakers and microphones and lavalier lab mics and cameras and photos and video, and he called it Manny Jae Media. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Manny Jae Media.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Nah, man, we're going to talk a little bit about where you started and what made you get into this thing. Like, where you were in the beginning. We're going to travel a little bit through his history. But in the beginning, where you were like a Manny J Little Media guy,
No.
were you ever in like, I wanted to be the camera in front of none?
None of that. None of that.
So you just said none of that like a lot.
None of that. Yeah, none of that.
None of that.
It's crazy. Check this out, right?
Yep.
I couldn't figure out when I was in high school what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I loved teaching others. So I was
Right.
like, you know what, let me go with that. Right? Because at least it's something.
Right. You got
It's
a
not
basis.
necessarily like I didn't picture myself wanting to stay in school, but I was like, it's better than like, you know what I'm saying?
You're not going to be a doctor, but you're not going to be a bum.
That part, yes, that part. And I was like, what would take the least amount of education? Because I wasn't, to be real, I just wasn't a fan of school. It wasn't for me. I'm more
Right.
of a hands-on learner. The book learning stuff, I think it's my ADHD. I just can't focus. I can't.
And you couldn't
It
retain
wasn't
it.
for me. Yes.
Okay.
So, I ended up actually going to school to become a history teacher. I love history. I love how things became, how things are made. I love architecture, all that stuff. So history made sense to me.
Okay.
And then I went to college. I went to Fitchburg State College at the time. Was not yet a university.
Right.
And a friend of mine gave me this book as a present because I was going to be a history teacher, called Lies My Teacher Told Me.
What was it called?
Lies My Teacher Told Me.
Okay.
And if you haven't read it yet, I'm gonna bring it to you.
Okay.
Because I still have it at my house, and I want you to check it out and maybe add to your banned books library.
Okay.
So it's called Lies My Teacher Told Me.
All right.
And it's essentially every whitewashed history story told, but the real version, like the real story of Thanksgiving. Heavy
the real
stuff.
story.
The real
of-
story of Pocahontas, right? The real story of enslaved people,
Right.
right? So when I learned in school, it was like the happy stuff, like, it would almost made it like slaves were happy to be slaves.
Right.
Or,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Woo, woo.
Excuse me. Enslaved people were happy to be slaves. as they
Yeah.
would
No,
title.
you
know
were
what I'm
right.
saying?
I understand. Like it was a slap happy time.
Like some Bojangles stuff.
Yeah,
And
like
no,
you really was
It
no.
really wasn't, and I knew it wasn't like that. But when I realized how much it was twisted, and anyway, all that to say, I went and I lived on campus, and I was free. My mom, and she don't play. And the moment I had enough distance between me and my mom where I could play without worrying about her not playing, I played.
Getting caught playing.
I played, and I missed class a lot.
Okay, so back to Fitchburg State University, college at the
so
time.
Unfortunately, I'm a college dropout. However,
Okay,
I'm a very hardworking person.
all right.
It's just in me to have a great work ethic and to always. I've had a legal job since 11 years old. I've worked with programs like Worcester Housing Authority and the Ecotarium
Okay.
that allowed me to
To
actually
have
have
that
an
job.
income.
Right.
It wasn't a lot of money, but
It was a
legal
job.
work. Yeah.
It was a job.
It was a J.
That's
Right. And even though I was a college dropout, as soon as I got home, I got myself a job.
That's what's up.
At said job, I met the mother of my children, and family time came into play. So
Okay.
there was a long time where I was a dad.
Okay.
And I worked call center here or
And nothing about media,
retail there.
Manny Jae Media
No,
ever
we're
came
not
into
big.
that. And nothing, none of that.
I told you none of that. I meant it.
Not even a thought.
No, none of that.
Not even.
No. So this is what happened, right? My son, my youngest, because I have 3 boys. Right now they're 16, 21, and 28. I'm a granddad already, believe it or not. I have 2 beautiful
Wow.
grandchildren
Okay.
who I love to death. My Yamari, who is, oh God, I shouldn't have done this to myself.
Now you're trying to pick the
He was born in
ages.
June of last year, so I
So
don't know
that's
how many
like-
months that is.
yeah.
Almost a year old.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying 10 months or 11
right.
months.
And then my baby Aurora, who is actually almost 3 years old in October.
Okay.
My babies are so cute. But
Back to you.
My son, listen, I'm a doting grandpa, okay? Listen, what can I say?
We're going to be selfish for a minute and think about you.
My little 16-year-old boy, 5 years ago, well, 6 years ago now, when I was, before my journey at Unity Radio, he says to me, he's like, Dad, I need you to back off. Like, I'm growing up. I don't need you to be so like,
On top of
and
me.
I will admit, I was a helicopter parent.
Right.
Like, I wanted to give my son everything, and I wanted to make sure he had the best of the best, and I was there for him. You,
Blah, blah,
you get the
blah,
picture,
blah,
right?
blah. Yep.
So anyway, I ended up having like, I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I ended up having a mental breakdown. Like, what do I do now? And it's so bad that I became suicidal. Like, I thought it was better off to just
Not be here.
not be here anymore. And I know that sounds crazy.
No,
like,
no, but it's I don't want you to diminish that fact of where you was at in that part of your life and diminish it as being crazy. Because it wasn't crazy, it was just the thought you had. You didn't see alternatives to achieving
I had
something.
nothing left. Like, I was a dad. That was my identity. I grew, for the last decade, I was a dad. And I didn't want no more kids. So we weren't doing that. I'm not a diaper. I learned through my youngest, I'm not a diaper guy. And so I also had a lot of trauma growing up.
Okay.
My mom is an amazing mom, but she couldn't always be there. She had to do what she had to do to take care of us, and predators got to us.
Right.
You know, long story short.
Yeah.
And that kind of started coming up, and there was just a whole lot of things like interpersonal wise of myself that I just didn't want to live anymore. And shout out to my man Mike McGinnis. I'm not sure if you know Mike, but Mike McGinnis at the time was a manager, maybe even director. I don't know the exact title of the Kiva Centers now. I know you're familiar with Kiva Centers.
Like, people, this is the second time somebody talked to me about the Kiva
And if you're not,
Center.
it's because you should be. That's
I
why.
need to.
Get familiar, man.
K-E-V-A.
K-I-V-A, and they're located on Main Street in Worcester, right across from City Hall.
Yeah,
And actually, so City Hall's here, Kiva's here, and Everyday Miracles is there. So it's a perfect little trifecta.
Yeah.
Well, City Hall. You know what I'm trying to
I
say.
know.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Go back.
Let's go back to me.
Yes.
Anyway. So,
Leave City Hall alone.
We're going to leave City Hall alone. Well, it does come up in my future story.
Yeah.
But
for now,
Kiva Centers, my mom was a part of as a peer specialist.
Okay.
She would go there and she got actually certified as a peer mental health support specialist.
Okay.
So other people from the community who were having whatever they were going through, they would have me and you there as a specialist to talk to and to essentially overcome whatever barriers
was the
that
thing
they're
that
going
was.
through.
Yeah.
Instead of going to someone who is clinical and could possibly, there's a big fear in the mental health world of stigma,
Right.
of being locked up, of being medicated. In this situation, you have all the power. You come in, you talk to whoever you want to or don't.
Right.
You are part of whatever groups or not.
Right.
But they're there to be that support without real
Without
serious
making
intervention.
it right.
Yeah. So Mr. Mike McGinnis, he knew I was going through my thing, and he's like, "Oh, Manny, come with me to my radio show. We'll talk on the way." And he talked to me on the way, and we go to his radio show. Well, his radio show happened to be at Unity Radio.
Okay.
Shout out to director Ernest Floyd there at Unity Radio, who gave me my opportunity. It is what it is. At the end of the day, you got to be grateful for where you came from. And although things happen that I may not be so grateful for, I'm grateful for where I came from.
The learning process that you went through and where you were at the time you were there is things that is like you'll never be able to buy that.
Nah, I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for that.
And you had to go through that to become.
Right. Now, mind you, I never told you anything about me still
I
wanting to be anything in media.
Right. That's
We're not
why,
there yet.
Right. And
So-
but your
but
introduction
we're getting
is the first doors you went into with media is this Unity radio station.
Yes.
All right.
So I get there, and Mike's doing his show, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I like this. I like the way it feels in here. It was a vibe.
Yeah.
I love the equipment. I love the smell of the electricity. You know, the hot electricity.
Yeah, the hot lights and
You know
everything.
what I'm saying? It drew me in. And so I told Ernie, one thing I skipped over when we were in college, I was part of their radio station at the college. It was just an extracurricular, give me something to do because, we're college kids. We need to do stuff.
Right.
And
the radio station, Fitchburg State College.
Yeah.
Was it still in the basement? Or
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah,
in the basement of where the store is and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I wasn't at that radio station long, but I really did like it.
Yeah.
What I didn't like was like how it was directed, and like I basically didn't have my own show. I had to go in there and put CDs on, press play, and it was all
formatted,
set out for me. Yeah, I couldn't do me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I didn't end up lasting long. But it was my first little introduction, my first little to it. You know what I mean? So when I got to Unity Radio, afterwards I told Ernie, I was like, so when I was in college, this, that, and the third, and I'd love maybe someday I can have an opportunity to come down here and volunteer with you guys, and learn what's going on. And he's like, actually, because he was a school teacher, or is, I don't know where he's at now, but he was looking for help for a producer to help him produce shows when he couldn't be there. So it just happened to work out perfect.
Okay.
And so he invited me to come back, and he introduced me to some good friends of mine who are no longer there, but they have another entity called Radio Worcester. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Hank Stoltz and Ben White.
I know. I've been interviewed by Hank Stoltz.
Okay.
I didn't know he was at Unity.
They were at Unity when I first got there. They were there like for years before I was.
Really?
And so Ben White was actually the gentleman who trained me.
Okay.
Yeah, so he trained me in using the equipment and stuff like that, and I learned on Hank Stoltz's show while it was at Unity Radio. And I did a couple other shows for like Tony Economo and Gary Rosen, who were city councilors
people.
at the time. That's how I got into politics a little bit. Now, when I'm doing these shows, by the way, I'm behind the scenes. I'm behind
You're not the
production table. Right.
Camera person.
Right.
You're not the talent.
No. And you know what's funny is with some of these shows, like what's the name of it? Anyway, there's those other shows where I'd have an opinion, and when we go on commercial, I'd be
talking
them know
about
my
the
opinion. They're like, Manny, why don't you get on the mic and
do the damn thing?
they're like, come on, bro. And I'm like, nah. I hate my voice. I'm completely camera shy. I have stage fright. That's not happening. I'm comfortable back here. I'll put you on air, and we'll have our little chats between us. You know what I mean? I'm all about it's okay to have things that aren't out there for everybody to see.
And that is so true.
That, you know what I mean?
That is so true.
So, anyway, I don't know what happened. It just like the Big Bang exploded.
Okay.
And that's a lie. Let me go back.
Oh, shoot.
So what happened was there was an incident where certain people, I'm not going to name names.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm cool with these people now.
Okay.
And we've moved on and we've grown and we're doing big and better things as a community. So we're going to leave it there. But certain people had the audacity to stand in the corner, and they're in one corner of the room, and I'm in the complete opposite corner of the room. Mm-hmm. And these people, and you use your imagination, a certain demographic, separate than us, and they're over there talking about, Ernie Floyd ain't gonna be nothing, and Unity Radio ain't gonna be nothing, and this, that, and third. And now, mind you, I had just got here, and I'm a very passionate person.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, this man gave y'all an opportunity.
And they're going to fuck it up.
And y'all sitting here talking about, because you got somewhere to go and you got some bigger, better things, preying on the downfall of the man who gave you that opportunity. Now, mind you, I have no real loyalty or anything like that. I had just met Ernie myself.
Right.
So there's no real
It wasn't
reason
like you
for
were
me to act
vested
out.
into him like that.
But for whatever reason, I cried, and I think I cried because I know how, particularly, the Black American community has been treated forever by these people.
Yeah,
one,
right.
and two, because I was just as invisible. I'm sitting in the room, and they're
And
acting
they're
like,
talking like
I'm
you
not
ain't
even
there.
there. And I wasn't involved in it. It sounded like they were like, "Yeah, Manny, you coming too." It wasn't.
Right. Like, come on, we're going.
That wasn't happening. You feel me? So I was like, I stood up and I said to them, I was like, y'all realize I'm right here, right? Because, I have no problem holding my tongue. Again, if you know my mom, shout out to Wanda Alvarado Eaton. If you know her, you understand that we're not the type of people that hold our tongues. Right? And so I let them know, look, what y'all said was foul, and I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
Have a nice life. And they left.
Right. And then you continued on.
I let Ernie know exactly where he stood with said people.
Right.
And together, between myself, Ernie giving me the freedom to do it, and reaching out to the community that I knew just because, I mean, between me knowing them and my mom, she's worked in the community so long, I've got to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
We were able to develop and operate 13 shows a week, up from, I think it was like 5 at the time, which, by the way, they were all like Republican-y. I don't know if they were Republican, but they were all very conservative-y.
Talk shows.
Talking heads. Very not fun, boring show. The only one that was fun, there was 2 that were fun. Unity in the Community, which was Ernie's show.
Okay.
And he had a sports show. I wish I could remember the name of it. But he had a sports show as well. And those guys were fun.
Okay.
Oh, and our man Ike McBride.
He
had the original
show.
101, Cannabis 101.
Cannabis 101.
Which was an educational show about that. And I actually was able to produce for Ike, which one of my
best things
I've ever done. And Ike, I love you, man. You taught me so much. Thank you. So
we're at Unity Radio now as 13 shows as a producer.
As a producer.
Not in front of the camera.
Not in front of the camera.
All right, so let's get to the point of where
I am now.
No. You went from the producer part.
Yep.
How and why did you get in front of the camera?
Right. So with that part, I'm working 100+ hours because each show is 3 hours, so 13 times 3, you do the math, you'll get it. And I did a show called Labo, a Latin American business organization, Labo News.
Okay.
And I want to shout out to the original producers and hosts of Labo News, Tarani De Jesus and Luz Mejia. I hope I have your last names right. I think I do. Sorry, Tarani and Luz. You know I love you guys.
Okay. We'll keep it with Tarani and Luz.
Yeah. So again, through all my shows, I got so much to say. Actually, no. Rewind a little bit more. I'm so sorry. Poppy and Milhome. Poppy Pay and Milhome Saint Jean. Saint Jean. Yes. Saint Jean. They had a show. Well, Poppy had his show called 508 Live, and Milhome had his called The Revive Effect. And we had such good energy together. Again, now I'm off microphone. I'm talking to them during the commercials and stuff. Yeah. And so they're begging me, Manny, get on the show with us. So
what was the first show you did?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Okay.
So between Poppy, Milhome, and then Ron Burgess was another gentleman.
Ron, big up to him. He was my first GoFundMe guy.
Yeah, really?
Big up.
So Ron Burgess, he had his own show. I feel pressure. That's why my memory's hitting. Right? They came together along with myself, and we created a show called Millionaire Mondays. And Millionaire Mondays was a show to talk about men, to talk about what we go through with our health, with our mental health,
man, you need to start that
relationships. Again. It was such an amazing show.
You need to start that again.
Because they convinced me to put my voice on, and I was like, screw it, let's go, guys. And we did it. And one of the best shows. That's where the real big bang was.
Millionaire Monday.
Millionaire Mondays.
Yeah, I should start that again.
Listen, I've been telling them. Poppy, you already know. Poppy said he's on board anytime.
Yeah.
And by the way, Poppy Page, shout out to that man, owner of the Worcester Majors.
Oh, that part.
That
Okay,
puppy,
yeah. I met him.
He just purchased the Worcester Majors, and they're going strong this summer. Hopefully, with everything going well, they're going to be starting their first season
At
at
Fitchburg State College.
Worcester. Oh, I thought it was Worcester.
No,
WPI.
WPI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're amazing. And then Milholm, he is doing his thing, but I don't know. Milholm, hey, let's get it together. And then Ron Burgess, he's doing so much with his foundation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if the universe calls for it, we can all get back together.
Or you might get a new crew.
I would love it. Oh, we might need a new crew.
You might need a new crew. They moved on. That don't mean you can't figure it out.
And we can always have them back.
There you go. It's guest appearances or whatever way you wanted to do it. So we got you in front of the camera.
We got me just my voice because I was still behind.
You still haven't stepped in front of the camera.
No. So I'm gonna tell you, right? A lot has happened between this the Millionaire Monday show, and my departure from Unity Radio.
Got you. So, all right,
we don't have time to go through
right? What's good to say?
We don't.
Do we need that conversation?
We don't.
This conversation?
No, we don't. Okay. What I will say is there was a time between where everything was
super
amazing.
Super cat.
I was up here, cloud 9, and then I hit
dirty wine.
Okay.
Down.
That's what happened. And I for 6 months I didn't know what to do with myself. I cried. I was so disappointed with myself, with the people around me, with the people that had anything to do with what we were doing. I was just so upset, and I couldn't believe that I lost everything.
Well, the thing is, you didn't lose anything because you learned some things.
I learned a lot of things.
And those things you now put to fruition now.
Right.
So now, what is Manny Jae doing?
So now, there was another platform between Unity Radio and Manny Jae Media. Okay. And that platform it's vital to talk about.
What's that?
And that platform is What's Up Worcester. It's where I got my tagline from. Well, actually, I had the tagline kind of before that, but we're not going to go there.
What's Up Worcester?
What's Up Worcester, where we got our start. Shout out to the Village Worcester, because they gave us our first little office space that we used as a studio.
Right. Yeah.
And
now tell the people what is What's Up Worcester.
So What's Up Worcester?
Because they may not be from.
What's Up Worcester is currently, I don't know.
What is it? Like, what was it?
But at the time, it was a platform that another gentleman and myself had come together.
Co-created.
And created. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm full disclosure, it was already there. This other gentleman invited me on when he knew I was no longer with Unity Radio.
Okay.
And he was like, bro, we could do something together.
All right.
And so he brought me to What's Up Worcester, and it was essentially a platform to let Worcester know what's going on. What's the good things you could do? Who's the good people out here? What organizations? And at the time, it was an election year. We took full advantage of that.
Okay.
And we wanted to interview people that we thought the community would care about, and because the community would be voting, we took advantage of it. You know what I mean? And due to that, so before I started doing the interviews with the politicians and everything, the owner of What's Up Worcester at the time was like, Manny, you have to go in front of the camera. And me and him fought. We went back and forth. I was like, bro, we're not doing that. I have body dysmorphia. I'm very insecure. I'm uncomfortable with myself. We're not
body dysmorphia.
No
what is that?
I mean that.
What does that mean?
So body dysmorphia is when your vision of your body is different at any given time.
Oh, got you.
All right. So one day I can, even if I'm 100 pounds, I can feel and think I look like I'm 300 pounds.
Got you.
When I'm 300 pounds, I can feel and look like I'm 100 pounds. It's the weirdest thing, but I can't really trust my own thought process on what my body looks like. It's weird. It is what it is. It's clinical. I'm crazy. We all got
we got something wrong with us. Everybody got something wrong with them.
That's mine. So, well, there's more, but that's the main one.
Truncate. We got.
All right.
It's a half-hour show.
I know. I'm trying to rush. This is a great.
No, don't rush.
You wanted the story.
No, don't rush. Just
stay focused. Right. All right. So he put me in front of the camera, and I just kept going with it. And then all of a sudden, we grew up to like 3,500 followers. And I was like, whoa, what's happening here? People actually care. They care to hear me, they care to see me, and they're engaging. And we ran with it. And we did it for like a year. I'm a liar. It was like 6, 7, 8 months-ish, around there.
Okay.
And then I went through another very depressive state.
Okay.
I lost everything at What's Up Worcester. Everything we had built
Gone
crumbled and
again.
crashed.
Yeah.
And I went into another really depressed
State.
And this time I recovered a lot quicker.
So you got out this state.
I got out of it.
And now we're at this. Did we get to Manny Jae Media yet?
We're here.
Okay.
We're here.
So tell me about the politician piece. What made you want to stick with that?
I didn't.
Because
Never once.
Never once.
No, they irritate me. Full disclosure, y'all irritate my life.
Because in my vision of political nuances, it can be draining.
Yes.
And some people touch it but don't deal with it.
Right.
Because depending on how you conduct your interviews and how you conduct your editing process, people could feel unsafe with you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I do my show live. I don't edit anything. Also, when it comes to politicians, we don't accept money. So there's no exchange of any kind. There's no gifts. There's none of that, because we want it to be 100% authentic and genuine, and we don't want it to be influenced by any outside anything. None of that. Right. You know, we want it to be real for the community. And if you're doing all that stuff, that's propaganda. It's not real, right? So. What made me want to stay with it is when I was with What's Up Worcester. Sorry about that. Yeah. When I was with What's Up Worcester, I developed some really dope relationships. Shout out to Robin Kennedy. She's one of them. I didn't believe in her. I thought she was lying to my face. I told her she was lying to my face. I said, we'll see. I said, because I've heard a lot of people that look and act just like you tell me all these things and then flop when
it's time
push
to
comes
do
to
this.
shove. But she proved me wrong.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that. She definitely is one of those people that keeps hope alive for me a little bit in politicians. Okay. But the reason why I wanted to keep it is, one, because there was a demand for it. When I wanted to quit, when I expressed that I wanted to quit, there were people who were saying, nah, Manny, we need you. We need you there because you are that conduit between us and the people that we can't reach.
Right.
For whatever reason. And I'm able to connect with them, and I'm able to garner their trust, and I have consistent access, and that was built over years, and
because you consistently did the work,
and the work that I did was fair, unbiased, and true. When I interview anybody, even when I interviewed you on my show, I tell whoever it is with me, this is your story to tell.
Right.
I'm just here to help provide the platform and to push it out there. Yeah. But not to write the narrative, not to make you look a certain way. That's on you. I tell the politicians the same thing. Right. I'm going to ask you questions you might feel uncomfortable with.
Right.
But don't get mad at me and don't feel uncomfortable with me. Answer the question.
Give me a story like that. Do you have one like that? Was like, I'm going to ask you a tough question. Yeah. And what happened when you asked the question? So after the camera, the lights
City Manager
come
of
on?
Worcester. I got a good one for you.
Okay.
City Manager of Worcester, okay? Yep. It was about his pay. There's been a lot of questions about why he thinks he deserves $300,000 worth of pay. I have that question, to be real.
Hey, what are you doing for 300?
Listen, 320 actually. Which I don't know if it might have altered a little bit since they got the new DEI guy, because before he was acting DEI chief, so he was taking that salary as well, which he said on my show. He explained it. But anyway, before the show, I said, listen. Because this is another thing I do. Before the show, I give you a rundown of what I'm going to do so you're not caught off guard.
Oh, you give them the questions?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I let them know this is what we're going to talk about.
Right.
Now, you can either stay or you can go.
Right.
Those are your options.
Okay.
I don't give them the questions to prepare. Because they literally, you came in, 10 minutes before my show? We had a quick conversation, then we went live. There's no time to prepare.
Right.
Okay? So, anyway, I let him know. I said, listen, everybody wants to know this question. I think it's a fair question, and I don't think that you need to get upset or get your feelings hurt. Let them know how you really feel
So
about it.
when that transpired, how was his reaction after the cameras went off? Well, was there reaction? I don't even need to
Not
know
even.
what it was. Was there?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I think he thanked me because at least the question was answered.
Right.
And
And his voice was to the question.
Right. He answered it the way he thought he should answer it. He gave some reasonable explanation, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, still,
It's what it is.
$300,000 is a lot of money, but whatever. They got the budget for it. Who am I to say?
Right.
So I asked the question. He gave an answer. You leave it alone. You let
Right.
it go.
Right.
And what I tell the people too, particularly like the city manager and stuff with tough questions, is trust the people to be smart enough
To listen and do
to
what
hear
they're
you
next.
and to be mature enough to handle whatever
Right.
it is you got to say, and then leave it up to them to want to. Well, with him, he doesn't got to worry about being voted in, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Leave
that
it up to
there's-
them to make up their own
Make a
minds.
decision.
Let's not try to mold thoughts for these individuals. We're
Right.
presenting information, we're educating,
Right.
and we're allowing people to use that to better their own lives on their own.
Right.
We're not
the
here to
information
influence you.
is to make you less ignorant.
Right.
Now, what you do with the information in return could either denote that you are still ignorant or that you learned something that you could put it to something.
Right. And so I think the guests I have, from the city manager to the mayor, which are both monthly shows, by the way,
Yeah.
every month at the end of the month you can catch those. The mayor is on hiatus right now because he's running for office, and we're not going to platform anybody more than the other.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So it's nothing against the mayor. It's
No,
just
no.
once he's done running, if he's still there, we'll bring him back.
Okay.
If he's not, which we're going to leave that alone too.
Right. See what happens.
We'll bring that one back.
Right.
We'll
So
see.
the future. What's the
But-
future for Manny Jae?
So, I mean, the future is unlimited, unknowns, leaps and bounds. I mean, I got here where I am in 5 years. I started this in 2019. Actually, I think it's 6 years now. Time flies. This year is flying.
Manny Jae, tell me your
Unity Radio's
social your social
at
stuff.
Manny Jae Media, MANNYJAEMEDIA on all platforms. That's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
I still haven't got to that thing yet.
And Facebook. I don't do X because
the
that man, me and
TikToks.
him, we not on
I
the same page. So
I'm
we
not.
don't do that.
I didn't get to the TikTok world yet.
I think TikTok was better. I haven't really. All right, I'm lazy with my TikTok, guys. But we're getting there. I like TikTok because you could just you could chop up, do little 60-second clips of like what we're talking about, or you can just talk to the camera for 60 seconds, let them know what you want them to know, and boom, that's it.
I thought you had to have
Short
like
form,
100
short
viewers or
You do.
100
You have to have
something.
1,000 viewers to go live.
Right, stuff like
But
that.
that's it. I got 1,000 views quick. Listen, you know what I did?
What?
You go to my TikTok now, you can see the video's still there. I did a little video of my dog, and we took a plastic fork.
Is that shit I do? Get a
the
cat or animal?
stupidest
little-
thing. It's the
get-
stupidest thing. We made a little cross out of a spork. Okay. We
Okay.
snapped it in half and made a cross. And my son was there with the dog, and he was just saying, "Jesus will repel you." It's the stupidest thing.
But that did
It's
it.
the 450,000 views, and then I got like 20,000 followers off of that. It's the craziest thing. Listen, TikTok is the easiest way to amass a following. Just do something funny, silly, something that makes you happy, and
Manny Jae Media.
that was long. Is that half hour over already?
It's been a half hour, like 30 minutes ago. But I
Wait.
want these people to know connecting with you is through Manny Jae Media Social.
Yes.
That they
We have a website as well.
The opportunities that you do are not just social. You have a professional
Yes.
thing too.
Yes. And they're not just politics. Real quick, the interviews are on Fridays. We're looking at about 3:30, 4 p.m. They used to be at 10 a.m., but I got a new job. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is because it's not your business. But we're moving it from the morning to the afternoon. On Fridays, still look for us. And we just don't interview politicians. We interview organizations. We interview small businesses. We interview men and women of
Community
importance in
people.
the community. We interview pillars, leaders of the community. We interview anybody who could be an influence or inspiration to others
Right.
of all ages in our community, because we just want our community to be better. And I feel like storytelling is a way to do that.
Big up.
All right. So besides that, a shout out to my executive producer, Mr. John Keogh, and
What's
his
up, John?
newly built Hollywood Film Group, which I am so proud of because I think I can say this. And I mean, I know John loves me enough that if I can't say it, he'll let me know in a loving way that I shouldn't have. But Manny
what you
Jae
about to
Media,
say?
nothing bad. Manny Jae Media, when we first, John was a pivotal person in helping me develop and make it a real thing.
Okay.
When I wanted to give up, he was a driving force to make me not. And throughout the process, he developed his own company called Hollywood Film Group. That's HOLLYWOOT. I think it's 3 O's.